Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Above all else, after last night, can we all agree that we are all Eagles fans this morning? Please. My daughter was trying to torture me. She told me last night that she was rooting for the Patriots. And I said, honey, you'll know why that's so bad in a few years. She's only 5, so she's got a lot to learn. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all you do, to the mayors, to the city managers, to the staff at GMA. You are a bedrock for how government works throughout the state and how we get our people what they need. I have been running for governor now for about 8 months, and I've been traveling around this state. Got in from Savannah late last night. It is a big state, y'all. And I've seen what you see. People are hurting. Families are hurting, and they need our help. They don't want our pity. They don't want government to do everything for them, but they want their government to work for them because they see it working for others, and it should work for all of us. We know that there are problems all throughout this state. Our schools are underfunded. Our teachers are overburdened, and their classrooms are too high, their class sizes are too high, and their salaries are too low. We fix our schools by investing in them. Kids need resources, not excuses. Our communities cannot thrive when they are isolated from one another. We need connectivity in high-speed rail as well as high-speed data. We've got to remove the barriers that keep families from getting where they are to where they want to be, whether that's a good job, starting a new business, or giving their kids opportunities that they could never dream about. We need to make sure that when people are sick, they can go and see a doctor because they're covered with insurance. It's way past time for the state to expand Medicaid. We need to start learning earlier, and it never needs to stop. When I'm governor, pre-K is going to be truly universal, and I believe that it should start as early as age 2. And I believe that we need to restore tuition-free technical college in this state. It's the right thing for families, and it's the right thing for our workforce. When the state government focuses on these things, it will be doing its job, which means that you get to do your job. Everybody stays in their lane. Now, none of this is easy. In fact, it's very hard. But none of it is out of our reach if we are deliberate about it. And I know we can do these hard things because I've seen this state do it before. And I've seen what investment in people does, not just for the individuals, but for our state. Because I stand here as a product of one of the greatest programs that this state has ever invested time and money in, and that's the Hope Scholarship Program. I was born in Ringgold, Georgia. That's in the northwest corner of the state, right on the Tennessee line in the mountains. My mom was only 17 years old when she had me. She herself never graduated from high school. We had a rough time growing up, to put it mildly. We moved a lot. I can remember living in at least 16 different homes by the time I was 18 years old. I remember coming home and finding that our power had been turned out again, or seeing my mom cry with frustration at why she was working hard but still could not keep the lights on and keep groceries in the refrigerator. I remember very vividly one time looking out my window and seeing one of my stepfathers dragging my mother through the yard, beating her up. And I called the cops for help that morning. And the cops told me that they knew my stepfather, and they didn't think he'd hurt a fly. So they didn't come to help, and he kept beating her. It was in that moment, I think more than any other, that I realized how much it matters who's in power and what people can do with it. Now, Ms. Henderson, my government teacher at Ringgold High School, taught me the good that people can do with power. She invited Governor Miller to come to our school and tell us about hope. And he told us that if we kept up a B average, our college could be completely paid for. And regardless of our grades, if we wanted to have access to technical college, it was ours for the taking. So that's what I did. I made a B. I went to the University of Georgia, the first in my family to go to college, and everything that's amazing in my life started the moment I stepped on campus. I graduated. I stayed there for law school and met my husband, Andrew. We now have that beautiful but misguided sports fan, Ashley, who's 5, who will be 6 next month. I have my family because of hope. I've been able to have an amazing career as an attorney because of hope. I was able to serve in the state legislature, the same body that saw fit to invest in me before they ever knew me some 20 years earlier through the Hope Scholarship. Now I'm running for governor to be a champion for every kid in this state growing up like me where going to college can literally change your life. That's the Georgia that I know. That's the Georgia that I know we can be again, with that strong vision of investing and believing in our people. We've got to make sure that the divisions do not get in the way of that progress. Now, DC's got some issues. It's dysfunctional. It's literally broken at this moment. There's a lot of division up there that tries to trickle down to us, and we can't let that happen. When we focus on Georgians, and we remember that there's so much more that unites us than that divides us, and that we believe in ourselves, we can do anything. I want to be the governor of that state. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Mr. Bluestein, your first question.
About the only form of government which has been growing in recent years is cityhood, and many elected officials from those new cities are here this morning. What is your opinion on the creation of new cities, and how would you vet the approval of those new cities?
Thank you. Cities are an amazing tool of government because they're so close to the people. And I think the increase in the cities that we've seen across the state are not completely unrelated with the frustration that people feel with the government that they feel less connected to. So I think the more that our state government does to work closely with our local governments, being county and cities, the more that we'll be able to streamline government and services. And I want to make sure that there is always a true partnership, and that the city elected officials know that we're not just going to pass what we think is the best at the state level, but we want to include you from the ground up, not bring you in after we've already decided what we're going to do and ask you what you think, but really bring you in as true partners. And y'all have an amazing staff at the Capitol for your eyes and ears. Y'all have chosen wisely. They are good people, but they don't sit where you sit. They don't know everything that you know, and they can't. We all have information that we bring to the table, and I think that as the next governor, I want to use that and have a advisory board of actual locally elected officials in the city. Now, as far as new cities, if after we wave our magic wand and everybody's singing Kumbaya and everyone feels really good about state, local government working together, and we don't feel like we need any more cities, if there still are efforts to create new cities, I think we just need to have dialogue about it, particularly probably more so between the cities and the counties than between the state. But I'm committed to a constant dialogue because just like a marriage, communication is key.
The prescription drug epidemic and opioid abuse are hitting big cities and small towns alike. What would you do to make it harder for doctors to overprescribe the medication and help local governments deal with this crisis?
Thank you. The opiate crisis is real, and I know I don't need to tell y'all that. I can see it in your nodding heads and your eyes. I, like many of you in this room, have a personal experience in my family with the effects of opiate abuse. My brother suffered from addiction of opiates for about 6 or 7 years. I'm very proud to report that he is almost 1.5 years clean, and I'm so proud of him. But the effects on our family were devastating to him and his relationship with his little girl. And we've got to stop this epidemic in its tracks. Now, it doesn't always start with a prescription, but oftentimes it does. And last year, my husband had a very simple outpatient gallbladder surgery procedure, and he was prescribed a 30-day supply of oxycodone. Now, we're very sensitive to the abuse in our family, so he took only a few of those pills for a couple of days and then suffered through the pain. But then when he tried to take those pills back, there was no easy way for him to do so. Essentially, he was told he was on his own. We knew we didn't want to flush it. We knew we didn't want to just throw it away. We had to search and search and search to find a way for this to be taken back. So I think the state needs to streamline that process, make sure that there's more information available to both prescribers, to pharmacists, and to patients on how they can safely dispose of leftover opiates. And I was proud to be part of legislation that took steps toward that last year. But I'll tell you this, one big thing that we can do in this state to curb the opiate addiction is to have expanded use of medical cannabis without limitations put on doctors to prescribe by our state government, letting them have the full range of prescription authority. Because in states that have widespread medical cannabis use, the opiate addiction rates have gone down drastically. And it's high time that we recognize that fact here in Georgia.
Thank you. You now have 2 minutes to give us your closing remarks.
Thank you. I would like to note for the record that I was 2 minutes under on my opening. So saving time, I will save you money as your governor as well. It's a trend. I think what Georgia needs, and I think what all of us want, is a governor that works for people and lets everyone thrive and be at their best. Let business thrive, let people live, work, and play, and everyone stay in their lane. To do this, we have got to make sure that we do not get sidetracked in partisan squabbles. We've got to stop focusing on legislation that pleases only a small fragment of one party in this state, as opposed to focusing on the things that help all of us. We are so excited to be on the short list of Amazon. We want those 50,000 jobs. We want to attract the next Delta, the next Coca-Cola. We cannot do that if we get sidetracked in this so-called religious liberty legislation. Now, every Republican you've heard from so far and every Republican you'll hear from after me supports that legislation. It is wrong-headed, and it will kill our business community. It will kill our tourism community, not to mention the fact that it sends the wrong message that this state is open to hate and discrimination. I won't stand for it. I want to focus on building jobs and building communities, not building discriminatory practices. I'll tell you another thing. Atlanta's great. Atlanta's been my home, Metro Atlanta. I've lived in Cobb County for the last 9 years or so, and it's a great place. But I'm originally from Ringgold, as I told you. I know that the world doesn't end at the edge of 285. We need to make sure that communities all across this state have the ability to attract businesses, and that means we invest in them by investing in transportation infrastructure, broadband infrastructure, and schools so that they can attract the next big business. That's how we're going to grow rural communities, not paying people to move to those communities, by incentivizing businesses to start there and investing in the communities. That's how we're going to attract people to live in those communities and truly grow those communities how we want them to be. Thank you for having me this morning, and thanks for all you do.
Thank you so much.